My name is Emmanuella, and until that afternoon I thought I had my marriage under control. I never imagined that one careless moment, one unguarded second, could change everything. I had just stepped out of the shower when I heard voices, male voices. My heart froze. My husband wasn't supposed to be home yet, and when I peeked through the bathroom door, I realized he wasn't alone. He had come in with his 2 black friends, and before I could even think, before I could grab a towel, the unthinkable happened. I had just finished taking my bath that Saturday afternoon. The house was quiet, sunlight slipping through the curtains, and I was humming softly as I reached for my lotion. My husband, Collins, had told me he'd be out till evening, so I didn't bother locking the bedroom door. Then I heard voices, male voices, followed by the sound of the front door closing. My heart skipped. I froze, towel still hanging on the rack. "Babe, I'm home," Collins called from the living room, his tone cheerful. "I brought my 2 friends. We just came from the match." Panic shot through me. Friends? Now? I snatched the towel and wrapped it around myself in a rush, nearly slipping on the wet floor. I could hear their laughter, the heavy thud of shoes, the clatter of bottles being set on the table. "Ella!" Collins shouted again. "Come greet them." I wanted the ground to open and swallow me. My mind raced. Should I stay quiet? Pretend I wasn't home? But the sound of footsteps coming down the hallway made my heart hammer. "Maybe she's inside," one of the men said, his voice deep and unfamiliar. Before I could reach the door to lock it, it swung open halfway. I gasped, clutching the towel tighter. The look on their faces, surprise, confusion, froze everyone for a moment. Then Collins's expression changed from excitement to disbelief. "Ella!" he barked, embarrassment flashing across his eyes. "Why are you—" He didn't finish the sentence. He turned sharply to his friends. "Sorry, guys. I should have checked." They muttered awkward apologies and stepped back quickly, but the silence that followed was louder than any words. When they left for the living room again, I sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. The incident was brief, almost harmless. Yet something about Collins's face haunted me. It wasn't just embarrassment, it was anger, suspicion. I didn't know it then, but that single moment, that unplanned, humiliating encounter, would plant a seed that would grow into something much darker. The house felt different that evening, heavy, quiet, and filled with an invisible wall between us. Collins didn't speak much after his friends left. He busied himself with the remote control, flipping channels he wasn't watching. I could tell he was trying to hide something behind that calm face, but the air was thick with what neither of us wanted to say. I sat at the edge of the couch, still feeling the sting of the earlier scene. "Collins," I whispered, "I honestly didn't know you were coming home with anyone. I was just—" He cut me off gently but coldly. "You could have locked the door, Ella. Anyone could have walked in." His words stung more than I expected. "I didn't hear you drive in. You told me you'd be back by 6. He nodded once, eyes still fixed on the blank television screen. "Forget it. It's fine." But it wasn't fine. For the next few days, he acted polite. Too polite. There were no hugs before work, no playful teasing in the kitchen, no late-night talks about bills or plans, just mechanical greetings and the kind of smiles people wear when they're forcing peace. By Wednesday, I couldn't take it anymore. "Collins, talk to me," I said as he tied his shoelaces for work. "If you're angry, say it. Don't punish me with silence." He looked up, his voice low. "I'm not angry. I just don't know what to think." "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. He shrugged. "I don't know. The way they saw you. It just didn't look right." My mouth fell open. "You think I wanted that? You think I enjoyed being caught half-dressed in front of strangers?" He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Ella, I didn't say that. I just can't get the picture out of my head." That was when I realized how deep the crack had gone. One accident, one moment of exposure, had rewritten everything he thought he knew about me. Days turned into weeks. He began staying longer at work, eating dinner later, and spending weekends out with the same 2 friends. Sometimes I'd overhear their names on his phone, Amos and Kelvin, and my chest would tighten. I didn't blame them. They had been innocent witnesses, but I blamed the distance their memory created between us. At church, people started asking why Collins no longer accompanied me. I smiled, made excuses, and went home to another evening of silence. The emptiness was louder than any argument we could have had. One night, while folding laundry, I found an unfamiliar perfume scent on his shirt. Soft, floral, not mine. My hands trembled. It could have been from a colleague, I told myself. Maybe someone at the office hugged him goodbye. But in my heart, suspicion whispered a louder story. When he came home that night, I tried to stay calm. "Collins, can we please stop pretending everything's fine?" He paused at the doorway, weary eyes meeting mine. "Maybe we both need time to breathe, Ella. I don't want to fight." He walked past me and I stood there, holding the shirt with the foreign scent. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet, it was distance becoming a habit. That night I realized that infidelity doesn't always start with a kiss or a secret message. Sometimes it begins with silence, two people living under the same roof but in different worlds. Days turned into weeks, and our marriage drifted further apart. Collins barely spoke unless it was about bills or errands. I tried everything, cooking his favorite meals, sending texts during the day, even writing a small apology note and leaving it on his pillow. Nothing changed. His answers were polite but distant, like he was speaking to a colleague, not his wife. One rainy afternoon, as I scrolled through my phone, a message popped up on WhatsApp. "Kelvin." I froze. He was one of the two friends from that embarrassing day. My first instinct was to ignore it, but curiosity made me open it. "Hey, Emmanuella, I hope you're good. I've been meaning to say sorry again for that awkward moment. I felt bad about what happened." I hesitated before replying. "It's okay, Kelvin. It was nobody's fault." His next message came quickly. "Still, you didn't deserve that kind of embarrassment." I could see Collins was upset. "Hope you both are fine now?" That question touched something I'd been trying to bury. For a moment, it felt nice that someone noticed, that someone cared enough to ask. I typed and deleted my reply 3 times before finally sending, "We're fine. Just trying to get back to normal." He responded with a friendly joke, and before I knew it, we had chatted for almost an hour, about random things, work stress, favorite movies, even his mother's cooking. It was harmless, or so I thought. But that small conversation became a door I didn't realize I was opening. Every few days, Kelvin would send a check-in message. Sometimes I replied, sometimes I didn't. But each time, I found myself smiling at my phone longer than I should. One evening, Collins came home late again. He didn't notice the dinner I'd prepared or the effort I made to look presentable. He just murmured a tired "good night" and went straight to bed. After he slept, I sat on the couch, the blue glow of my phone screen lighting the room. Kelvin's message blinked again. "You don't deserve to be treated cold, Emmanuella. You're a good woman." Those words sank deep. They filled a space that had been empty for too long. I knew I shouldn't entertain it, but loneliness has a way of blurring right and wrong. I typed back, "Thank you, Kelvin. That means a lot." The conversation grew softer, more emotional. He told me he admired my strength, that he wished Collins understood what he had. I told him not to say such things. But my heart beat faster reading them. That night, as rain whispered against the windows, I realized how dangerous comfort can be when it comes from the wrong place. Kelvin wasn't just a friend anymore. He had become the voice that listened when my husband didn't. I lay beside Collins, staring at the ceiling, my phone still glowing on the nightstand. I hadn't crossed any physical line, but inside me, something had shifted. I told myself it was harmless, just words, just comfort, but deep down I knew. This was how temptation begins. The more I chatted with Kelvin, the more I told myself it was innocent. He was kind, funny, and easy to talk to. Everything Collins had stopped being. I didn't realize how far I'd gone until one afternoon when Collins came home unexpectedly. I was in the living room, laughing at a message on my phone. When he walked in, my smile froze. He noticed. "Who are you texting?" he asked casually, placing his briefcase on the table. "Just a friend," I replied too quickly. He raised a brow. "A friend?" There was a pause, heavy and suffocating. He reached for my phone, but I held it close instinctively. That small act said more than words ever could. "Emmanuella," he said slowly, "since when do we hide phones in this house?" I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice. "It's nothing like that, Collins. I swear." He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He just stared at me, hurt written all over his face. "You think I'm blind?" he whispered. "Do you think I haven't seen the change? The late-night smiles? The secret messages?" My lips trembled. "Collins, please. He's just being nice." I needed someone to talk to. That last line broke something in him. "You needed someone to talk to? And it wasn't your husband?" His voice cracked with disbelief. He turned away and sat down, covering his face with both hands. I wanted to touch him, to explain, but guilt chained me where I stood. Everything I had justified as harmless suddenly looked poisonous. The next few days were unbearable. Collins barely spoke to me. The silence that once felt cold now felt final. He stopped coming home some nights. When he did, he slept on the couch. Rumors began to spread. Someone must have seen Kelvin visit the house once or twice to check up on me. In our neighborhood, whispers grow faster than weeds. Friends who used to greet me with smiles now looked at me differently, with pity, or worse, with judgment. Kelvin noticed the change too. He kept messaging, apologizing for the tension his friendship had caused, but every word from him now felt heavy. I stopped replying, but it was too late. The damage had been done. One evening, Collins came home earlier than usual. I was sitting on the bed, eyes swollen from crying. He stood at the door, weary, tired, broken. "I don't even know who you are anymore," he said quietly. "Maybe I stopped being the man you needed, but you stopped being my peace the day you let another man fill that space." His words cut deep because they were true. I had crossed no physical line, yet I had betrayed him in a way that still wounded his soul. He picked up a small travel bag from the corner of the room. "I'm going to stay with my brother for a while," he said, not looking at me. When the door closed behind him, the silence left behind was deafening. I sat on the bed, phone in hand, staring at the chat that had started it all. A single message blinked at the top of the screen. "I'm sorry for everything." Tears blurred my vision. For the first time, I realized that infidelity isn't always about touch. Sometimes it's about attention. And in giving mine to the wrong person, I had lost the one who needed it most. The days after Collins left were quiet in a way I had never experienced before. Not peaceful, just empty. The house that once held laughter and arguments and shared meals now echoed with silence. His toothbrush was gone. His slippers weren't by the door. The little things screamed louder than any fight could. I tried calling him several times, but he rarely answered. When he did, his tone was distant, polite, and final. "I'm fine. Ella, give me time." Those words hurt because time was the one thing I no longer had control over. At church, people asked questions I didn't want to answer. I smiled through it all, pretending that everything was fine, while inside I was falling apart. I started to realize how small, gradual steps, tiny compromises, can destroy something you once thought was unbreakable. One Sunday, I saw Collins sitting at the back of the church alone. My heart leapt, but I didn't approach him. I watched as he bowed his head during prayer, and for the first time, I truly understood what repentance feels like, not just asking for forgiveness, but owning the damage you caused. After the service, I wrote him a letter. "Collins, I know I can't erase the hurt. I let distance grow between us and sought comfort in the wrong place. It wasn't betrayal in the way people think, but it was still a wound I caused. I'm sorry. If you ever find space in your heart to forgive me, I'll be grateful. If not, I'll still thank God for the years we shared." I didn't send the letter. I kept it folded inside my Bible, where I still read it sometimes as a reminder. Weeks later, he came by the house to pick up a few things. The meeting was brief, quiet, almost formal. But before leaving, he paused at the door and said, "You know, Ella, forgiveness doesn't always mean going back. Sometimes it means letting go without hate." He smiled faintly, sad, but peaceful, and left. I stood there, realizing that love without trust is like a home without walls. Now, months have passed. I've learned to live with the silence. I still pray for him, not for reconciliation, but for healing, for both of us. When I share my story now, I tell other women that infidelity isn't just about crossing physical lines. It begins the moment you let someone else hold the conversations, emotions, and attention that belong to your spouse. It begins in the small cracks, long before the fall. And if my pain can stop someone else from walking that path, then maybe losing everything wasn't in vain.